Welcome, welcome, welcome. You listen to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Today we have a great show. This is the Ask Brien radio show, AskBrien. Ask Brien is part of the Ask Brien website, AskBrien.com corporation. Mr. Engineer, everybody's always asking me.
Right.
Why in the world do you spell Brien with an E? Because most people say, isn't it spelled B-R-I-A-N or B-R-Y-A-N? Why do you spell it B-R-I-E-N? Everybody asks me, and I don't know, but you've told me what you think.
Well, there's actually a number of reasons why it's spelled with an E, because the E stands for a number of things, and those would include excellence, effort, experts, because you need to be an expert on the show to even be here. My personal favorite is engineer, because you need the engineer to run the show, and then you got to be empathetic, empathy.
Well, that's pretty good, Finally, if you train a seal long enough, they'll learn how to do something.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. It only took you, what, like 2-3 years? A
year.
Eventually you'll get it, I know it's a hard thing to do, but we have a great guest today, and before we get into that, we're going to go over a little bit about the Ask Brien Network, and then we'll be talking to a great guest, and I'm sure everybody will have some great time today. So, the Ask Brien Network is part of AskBrien. If you go and visit the Ask Brien website, you'll see that you have questions and answers for a business community whereby a dry cleaner in Georgia can ask a dry cleaner in Florida, hey, I have this stain problem, how do I fix that? That's along the lines of same business, so people will have the same problems and they can solve the problems that way, which is all about the Ask Brien system of solving business problems for others. The other part of the Ask Brien Network is the experts, and you can become an expert on the Ask Brien website, but in order to do so, you have to apply, qualify, and if you are accepted, then you are allowed to be an expert. Typically, we like you to have 10,000 hours. It's not a minimum requirement. Some people have gotten into it with less than 10,000 hours. Just because you have 10,000 hours does not mean that you automatically get qualified. But after you have that much time in one subject, you typically know a lot about that subject, enough to be able to provide information and advice to others. If you do become an Ask Brien expert, then on the Ask Brien website, you have your own profile page where you can post your own videos, your own ebooks, your own blog posts, and you can post your own webinars. These webinars can actually be on any subject you choose, typically in the area that you have, and we can go on the nationwide AskBrien.com, kind of like a TV guide concept, where you can pick and choose what webinars you want to listen to. That's what the Ask Brien Network is all about. Each week, we try to teach a business solution to business problems that most business owners will encounter either all the time or maybe just encountering at this current time. Obviously, with the coronavirus, et cetera, things are a little bit different in our world today, and operating from home, that's a big factor. So without any further ado, how do you spell ado, Mr. Engineer?
A-D-I-E-U.
Again, I'm trained it well. So without any further ado, we have our guest. His name is Elijah Dittersdorf. Elijah, are you there?
Okay, I was waiting for the end of that crescendo. And you come down on a sharp, and it would sound perfect.
Well,
Brien.
It'd be even better if I could sing, but I haven't learned that. Although I do have one of my best friends, I do have to say, has been a coach for 8 years on The Voice. So maybe I need to go visit him, and I'll be able to sing a little better and be able to have a better comment there. So, Mr. Elijah, or I'm going to call you Elijah for the show. I think that's the easiest way. I like to have a commonality with people, and so I'm going to be calling you Elijah. Is that okay?
You can call me that. That's a good one, because it's my name.
I don't want to call the engineer. His name is Richard. Oh, sorry. Because there's a bad nickname with that. I'm not allowed to say it on the air. Anyway, Elijah, so my first question to you is, I know that you have this new company out, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but the listeners like to know about your background, how you got to where you are. So, and I'm not going to talk to you from, the day you were born or the day you went to college, but I would like to know, after you left school, first of all, what did you go to school to become? Was there a specific practical training that you had to do something, or was it just college for a liberal arts background?
I went to school particularly to learn chemistry, to become a chemist, because it was part of an early trade I had that I applied in the 80s in El Paso, Texas, in relations to, I don't think we've ever talked about it, in relations to denim and manufacturing jeans in the El Paso border when there was the maquiladoras, the twin plants between Juarez and El Paso.
I don't want to talk too much, but it's a very interesting concept there. So, first of all, why chemistry for denim? Because not everyone would understand the concept. You need chemistry to produce clothing?
Everything shifts, just like technology, and the technology shifted in producing garments because there's different legislation and different things that occurred. And so you could split businesses and you could prepare a pair of Levi's jeans on one side of the border, assemble them on the other side. Where the technology comes in is when the rolls of product and denim used to come in from the South, I think North Carolina, South Carolina, they were untreated, they were stiff denim. The technology came along to treat that denim and make it look like all sorts of different things. I think you remember the stonewash stuff. And that was a revolution in that product. And so there was a lot of folks who could come there and get different designs from Europe usually and sort of mimic that and mass produce them. And all the big producers were on that side. So the chemical treatment of the product you were wearing changed somewhere around 1981, 82. Some chemicals became less lethal and water regulations changed a lot. So you could actually build these plants that used a lot of water and made a lot of dirty water.
So after college, you had your chemistry degree. You got into the garment industry in producing denim.
As a chemist, I had a lab, and we put together, and I had real, chemists that worked for me, and we would get designs, and we would come up with different washes, early stone washes, and then we apply that, and that would work. They could do big batches, and you get paid by the piece if your formula works, and they get the product they like.
So were you a manufacturer, or were you just a wholesaler?
Simply a chemist. I simply came up with the washes. You needed this much pumice, this much bleach, this much hydrogen. Whatever you had to put in the washing machine had to be this much heat, spun at this level. I was able to work with a lot of different people and put that together and create a nice little business creating these washes. So that people would send me a wash, a designer at Lee Jeans, a Wrangler. Everybody was there, and we'd sort of be able to copy it, come up with our own version, and give it to them. They would test it out. If it worked and it sold, then you'd get a price on every pair of pants sold with your particular formula on there.
Well, that could be quite lucrative. So you were dealing with the big companies, Lee and Wrangler. Do you ever deal with Levi or?
All of them. When you dealt with Levi's, it went through another company. I'm not going to mention the names. Some of them are non-existent anymore because all that business is in China now. But most of them are non-existent. But yes, there were other interceding companies that, say, Levi's would hire El Paso garment finishers. And they're the ones, that have the contract with, the company, and then they would come to you. So I guess, the big manufacturers would be one step away of somebody hacking a formula that was designed by a small manufacturer in Paris for just a beautifully unique wash on denim that could be reproduced.
Well, that's and you did that right out of college.
I did a little more than that after college. I'm a banjo player. I mean, that's my big thing. I've always played the banjo. So right after high school, I was around the South and I hung out and I learned how to play the banjo pretty well, and which served me later, in my 40s. But it's another part of the story. So I kicked around. I played the banjo. I just love playing the banjo. I got good at it. I found people to study under, and that was a part of it. And then found my way in El Paso. Finished my degree at UTEP, and then started my lab, right out the bat. It was easy to find the contractor. I just had to get to meet the people, and that was easy to do. And I just took a chance. There's a lot of smart people that were, that's, I think, the lesson, even with Mom's Computer. There's so much talent out there that's not deployed. It's pretty easy to say, does somebody do this? And really find that person, and they're good, honest, talented. They just want to do that. They don't want to start their own company, loyal. And that was really the lesson in El Paso. And it's been a lesson here in L.A., obviously, just the same.
But how,
if not more.
Again, you graduate school, okay? Most people graduate school. Most of them go out and get a job, or maybe their family has a business, or somebody they know has a business, or they get a job through a resume. You started your own company, is that correct?
Yeah, I finished, and then I had a 64 Buick Skylark, and I was playing some banjo in Tampa, Florida. I was a teacher there, and I would just hang out and watch and studied. And then I made it to El Paso. There's another tendril of that story. I don't know how far you want to get, but there's another tendril to that, that got me to El Paso. I mean, we can go to every little detail, but when I got to El Paso, I scoped around. I had a little business going, something not really related, and that's when I saw this opportunity.
Well, did somebody must have introduced you to that opportunity, or how did you find out?
I think I remember. Well, what brought me there was I had been bootlegging in the 80s. Oh, I'm really dating myself, Brien. You're taking me back now. You remember Urban Cowboy with John Travolta?
Yes, I do. I also remember the 80s, but that was a different generation.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the 1880s. But I know it was like a big cowboy boot phase. So I just started doing this thing where I got in touch with like the Tony Lama boot factory in El Paso, and I got seconds, and I would buy lots of stuff, and I'd bring them in and I'd sell them to stores, and they'd buy these lots of boots. That's what got me to El Paso. I was going to meet some people there because I'd been doing some business, and shipping product up, back east. Sort of just, on the sly. And not with a retail license or anything like that, but that was a long time ago. And that's what brought me to El Paso. And once I was there, it was easy to meet, it's small towns in El Paso. While it's a large town, Juarez across the bridge is a lot bigger. It's easy to get to know people, right? You just met people, just went into places. I want to talk to who the owner is of these different places. I can remember their faces and their names. Some were transplanted old Easterners, like really hardcore garment guys that had moved to El Paso 30 years ago and had cowboy hats and Brooklyn accents. And then there was real cowboys. And then there was a lot of Latin folks down there, big businesses, Mexican finance, big, good companies.
But
and you just got to meet them. It was easy to say hello.
Well, it's always nice to say hello. How did you find out about the fact that you could use your chemistry background to create these dyes? I mean, did you meet some guy down there or some girl down there and they spoke to you and you found out about it and then you decided to do it, or how did it just pop up, this idea?
That's a great question. I had sort of known it was an opportunity, going way back to like the record store with the bootleg Grateful Dead T-shirt and screen printing. I knew that those opportunities were there. They were just sort of in the lexicon of that little business, like copying things. And I sort of came up the same way I came up with Mom's computer. I don't know what it was. I think of what am I going to do? I was playing the banjo. That's how I paid my bills. I had some good acts I worked with and toured. Got paid per night. Good bluegrass bands, but all different kinds. And I just sort of knew that business was out there. It's not like somebody said to me, son, chemistry, dyes, denim. And it wasn't pointed out like that. I sort of looked and listened, and sort of I think it's like organic. If you're really open, those things get inside of you, and maybe you don't think of them till later. But it came as soon as it was available. It came up, and it was no cost to the producers because they sort of had us on like what would you say, a primordial NDA. I don't know what they called it back then, and they would give you a shot. You'd call a couple of chemists up, you put it together. Setting up a business in El Paso in Texas in 86 was pretty easy. Like, you signed a paper, you dropped it over the court, and you're in business. and then calling people in, and so once that worked.
So who was your first customer?
I'm going to give you their nom de gore, El Paso Garment Finishers. I remember them well. I remember that first job very well.
And did you approach them?
El Paso Garment Finishers.
Did you approach them?
The very, very, very tough Israeli guy. And very tough. Scared me. And still scares me in my dreams. And there was no room for error. He had a big factory and a lot of contracts. But he gave me my first shot. And I met him at a poker game. It was like a poker night. Yeah, as a poker, somebody invited me to a poker night, and he was there. And I speak a little Hebrew, and I said like my 7 words. He listened, and we became friends. And not friends, like I got to know him. And I went into his office. I said, I have an idea. There was a time like you could just walk into offices with ideas. I mean, for me there was a place where you can give a call and say, can I talk to the vice president of? Say, here's my idea. I think there's a better way you can throw your garbage out. You can put your dumpsters on a ramp and have more room underneath for the boxes or something like that. It used to be that simple, I think, for some folks.
And so now you think it's more complicated?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a lot, for me or in general?
In general.
For me, yeah, it's a lot complicated. The world's a lot younger, and people relate to themselves. I guess unless the idea is just that perfect. And so it was sort of easy to get into a club, like, hey, here we are. I also think, less layers. There wasn't, emails and I think voicemails is where it's at. I remember I got my first brick phone when I was living in El Paso. I thought it was just like the craziest thing. I was driving through the Mesa talking on this big, giant phone. But and so it's subjective, whether it's me and age and perspective or not. But it seems to be online, it's not like people walk around and knock on the door and say, I could do that better.
Well, and then
I tell you, I'd see you on the Ring doorbell until you get away before you got a word out.
And then you started this new company. We're going to get into that. We got about 3 minutes. You're going to tell us quickly about this company, and we're going to go about the whole company for the next section. But because we'll be taking a break in 2.5 minutes. So you started this new company. I think it's called.
Well, the segue is I got picked up. I was moving along
By a woman?
The business was. Excuse me?
You said you got picked up. I said by a woman?
Well, peace to everybody and liberation to everybody. So I got picked up by a really good band, at around 41, 42, as my lab business was dying out, as the business was moving to China. And the band was called Brooks and Dunn. Check out their video, Hillbilly Deluxe. I'm the banjo player. I went to an audition in Hollywood. Somebody got me into an audition. That's another story into itself. I got the job. I got in this huge video, with a big signed act, a Grammy-winning C&W act, and then went on the road with them for a year. And after that ended, then I came back to L.A. and thought about what I'm going to do. And from then I can tell you the story of Mom's Computer, which is my greatest sculpture yet. It is my masterwork.
Well, we have about a minute and a half before we take a break, but before that, I want people to get a little bit of a glimpse of what it is so they come back and listen to the whole big story. But how did you come up with this name, Mom's Computer? And, do you have a mom? And what's the deal with Mom's Computer, and why Mom's Computer?
Mom's Computer, technology care for seniors and adult learners. There was something about momscomputer.com that just made sense to me and just made sense to some other people, mostly in my little gamer's world. It was a game called The World of Goo. And that was a term used. And there was just something all-knowing about it to me, and it just worked for me. And, it was like a note on the banjo. I liked it, Now, if I can make some other notes around it to make it ring and make sense in a line, that was even better. So I just came up with the name. I was surprised those two names were available, Mom's Computer. And then I got the idea like this. I was in the supermarket, and I saw this. Do you remember those signs in college, for services, and there'd be little strips of paper cut with scissors so you could pull one of those strips off with the phone number on it?
Yeah, mainly in college, yes.
So anyway, I saw this one, and it said, I can help you with your basic computer skills. My name is, Marie. And that's all it said, and then it had a phone number on those little strips of paper, and all the strips of paper were taken off. And so, I had this idea of Mom's Computer. I didn't know what I was going to do with the website. I was able to get all of that. And then I saw that name, and I just connected the two. I said, well, that's a good placeholder for the website. And from the very first day, I put my little shingle up. I just done a Craigslist ad. The response has been overwhelming. To this afternoon, to the calls stacking up as I talk to you.
Well, we're going to be right back.
It's been quite a journey.
Elijah, we're going to be right back. We're going to get a little bit more in depth onto Mom's Computer, what it is, how it can help people, what you do, and how you made it a success. We'll be right back after the break. You listen to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM.
The City of Santa Clarita is working closely with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health to monitor the coronavirus COVID-19. On March 13th, the City of Santa Clarita issued a local emergency declaration in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Due to the stay-at-home order, the Santa Clarita events like Thursdays at New Hall and the Cowboy Festival have been put on hold for the safety of the community. For information, go to santa-clarita.com. For important updates, visit the emergency blog at santaclaritaemergency.com.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
These days, it's hard to figure out how to fill all the self-isolation time, let alone figure out what to have for lunch or dinner. Salt Creek Grill owner Greg Amsler is helping us out in a big way. Salt Creek is now offering takeout and curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Their entire menu is available for pickup or delivery, including to-go beer and wine. Hey. In addition, Greg's offering wine at 25% off, along with daily specials. If you'd like to buy a gift card for a future visit, now's the time. Buy a $50 gift card and get $10 extra on the card completely free. Buy a $100 gift card, you get an extra $25. Salt Creek Grill, located next to Regal Cinema at the Valencia Mall. For more info, go to saltcreekgrill.com.
Hi, I'm Eric Goldhurst, Head of Operations for Burger King North America. Throughout this time, we've taken steps to take care of our guests.
And since we know many of your jobs have been affected by this crisis,
we want to help make sure you're taken care of too.
If you are looking for work, we are hiring.
And there's a spot on our team for you.
We know that we'll get through this together, as long as we keep taking care of each other.
For more information, call 253-3283. That's 253-3283.
Facey knows life gets busy. Let us go to work for you in the Santa Clarita Valley. We have 34 primary care physicians and 55 specialty doctors in 4 offices. And Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and PEDS with some extended hour appointments available. We are Facey Medical Group. Let us go to work for you today. For more information or to make an appointment, visit facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show, AskBrien.com. AskBrien is the radio network. We are on every single Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. with a business person that tries to solve business problems for us. Sounds like there's a little water in the background. Didn't know what that was. Is our guest there? Elijah?
I'm standing by over here. Elijah, Mom's computer. That water was not flowing from this direction.
I hope so.
Lord knows I don't need a plumbing problem.
Well,
that's a whole nother show.
Obviously, the engineer needs to fix that issue. Because obviously it's coming from him. Yes, don't look down. I asked for some more water, and that's what happened.
That's true. You did ask for more water.
That's what happens.
It was heavenly water flowing through your show, Peter. It's celestial water found your antenna into your station.
All right, so now I need $5 million cash.
That's it? All this time, and that's all you want?
I don't see it coming. I heard the water, but I don't hear anything about the money.
Go upstream, Peter. Go upstream. Keep swimming. Hey,
I can see the end of the rainbow.
and that's scary.
That's where the gold is. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that. Let's get back into it. So Mom's Computer, tell people, you got a little bit of a glimpse, but people still don't know what Mom's Computer is all about. You told us how you got the name and why you thought it was important, but go over Mom's Computer. What is the concept of Mom's Computer? What does it do, and who does it help?
Mom's Computer doesn't reinvent the wheel. It just adds some empathy to it. We are a tech care company for all your technology, computer, digital repair questions, from your computer to your smartphone to your tablet. For anybody that calls themselves an adult learner, is tech adverse, has had rough experiences, has years of things piled up, has any question whatsoever. And what separates us is the text that we use and the way we approach our business and the model. There's no need to be able to push people to purchase something or upsell. Our job is to solve a problem. And that was the whole concept for that distinct market, for just the folks. There's been a million skits on Saturday Night Live about Mom's Computer, and just the relationship between a digital tablet or digital device and then your provider who's doing it. And I just wanted to intercede there. And my pitch when I started is I literally worked up and down Ventura Boulevard, Sherman Way, Roscoe Boulevard, Melrose Avenue.
Boulevard.
I didn't hit Hollywood. There's nothing up there for me, but I walked everywhere else, like an old school. It's like 7 years ago. And my pitch was to computer places, any place that might need us. I'm here for the customers that you don't need any longer or you don't want. People not necessarily purchasing new things. And LA's a pretty digital town, so there was a lot of those folks. And in short thrift, I had lots of customers. And we grew pretty fast.
How did you get your first customer?
Well, the last place I walked into on the very last day, it's like Thursday afternoon, it's 102 degrees out, it's like August, and you're like, I'm way too old to be doing this. And I went into a really nice store, and computer store, I've been there forever, and said what I did, and then the owner walked out of the back. She said, really? And spoke to me for a few moments, and like by the end of 2 weeks later, we had double digits in the bank from the amount of customers that came our way. I was on like a hiring frenzy, to find the right person. And one customer from one computer store. And that just opened it up. And then I'd be gifted along the way. My web designer is a really sort of well-placed web designer and was introduced to me, and we became friends. He liked the idea. He's my web designer to this day. Sometimes he updates like from the ski loft, he's updating our website. Just likes the project. I've had a lot of, good people along the way. I think you know that.
Well, but our listeners do not know that. So the question is, how long was it before? So is this a one-man show, or do you have people working with you?
No, we have people working. At the beginning it was a one-man show, a little bit of an organization. And in a short time, I was just hiring people. You set up an organization and take the calls, and the calls would expand around Southern California. And I'd find techs, and we, have to make sure there's some background checks and everything works. In the beginning, group or just nerdy friends, and that expanded. I would get random calls from Cleveland, and I would shop around and find somebody in Cleveland, or Cheyenne, Wyoming. Who knows? It's been a really big. We've covered Cheyenne. We got one call, and since then, we've had hundreds, and I had to find somebody in that area that needs to go there physically. And it just sort of self-expanded. You pick up the phone, and we didn't put a lot in advertising. The word just spread. And the name Mom's Computer, I think it sort of caught, in Google a little bit, and it just sort of separated us.
Now, the name Mom's Computer had something to do with your mother?
Not necessarily, not necessarily, it's more like science fiction. It's more like a game, think of a big brain, Mom's Computer, everything is in there. Everything you need to survive is already in Mom, and you just have to access it. And it's sort of like the portal, the main giver.
So,
Mother Earth.
How do you get your customers?
It has been it has been such a fascinating ride. It's been minimal investment in Google AdWords and things like that, although we do participate in that, and it's good. It has literally been word of mouth. And then I did something else. At the very beginning, I pitched to do some classes, group classes, at the LGBT Center. that is the LGBT Centers of California. They still have big campuses here, and they have a very active senior program. So I read an article online somewhere, and I saw the person's name. I found that person. I sent him an email. I want to put this together. This is what we've been doing. I think Mom's Computer had been just operating on independent people calling us for problems for about 6 months. I went to the center. I met with a few executives, and they gave us a shot, a couple classes. Bill them, they paid for this. And on the first class, 50 people showed up. That was like 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago. And we've been doing that ever since. That word of mouth alone, from that buzz, from that group, the LGBT centers, the different sites we go to for them, expanded the map exponentially. I mean, it was just sort of amazing, just like getting your Mom's Computer in the LGBT bulletin, for Southern California. We got calls from Santa Barbara to Palm Springs, everywhere. And then doing good work, old-fashioned good work, sort of expanded the base. And then one day, one of those magical calls came in. I was doing some tech somewhere, and the call came in from a big client, a government client, a big situated government client, interested in hiring us, and went through the process. Took a long time. There's a lot of things you have to do, and they're our client. And several like them, municipalities and things of that nature. And it's just been one of those. So whenever it slows down, I really try to see what I can do. And 20 minutes later, I look down on the phone, and I'm expanding the work. And now, in all this, I have techs all set up on Zoom. It's really been even more expansive because folks that were resistant to learning online, and all they wanted to do is get an email, now need to get on Zoom or Skype to see family, friends, still locked in the world. So it's really, doubled the amount of calls and the amount of people I can keep working around Mom's Computer. It's just the idea, and really people understand it. Tech care for adult learners.
Who is your
If you know what it's up against out there, if you type in computer repair, if you see what pops up, you can understand that a decent resource finds its way.
Who's your typical customer?
I'd say it goes anywhere from 35 to 95. And the 95 could be smarter, busier, and earning more, by the way, It really goes in between there. But it's very often single people of any age, whether they're older and there's one person left, or just single people. We get a lot. Everybody seems to be, you get a lot of single folks. Because I think at the end of the day, when people want to fix some of these nagging issues on their devices, they want to learn something, they need the time. And with the families we have, the time is more of an issue. But someone else can come home and sit down and call us and finally resolve that thing that happens when the email pops up. So I think that's pretty fair assessment.
If you had to assess the 3 most common problems that people call you for, what are they?
That's a good one. I
always ask the good ones.
Yeah, I know. That's a really good one because I try to track this. So I go from 3, like a David Letterman list. The third, right. The third most common problem people call us about are viruses and phishing and scams and things that are slowing their experience down. They open up their browser and crazy things happen. They somehow click something wrong. And free recipes online now is all they get when they open up their Google Chrome or Safari or Firefox or one of those. The second thing that we get is actual help. This is crazy, is working on PDFs. A simple thing like we must get 10 calls a day and do that business and setting things up. Are people just simply needing to convert a PDF, an older person, need to convert a tax document, finding a retirement fund form, something they have to change.
My engineer says he will not call you again.
Yeah,
about
that's
that
okay.
PDF problem.
It's okay. We're booked up for a month or so anyway right now. And the most common issue, though, the very, very most common issue is the computer's outdated. It simply has an older browser or is updatable any longer. And those are a lot of PC users. That, they'll get you, and there's no repair. There's no way around it. There's really no work
So
around
if you have, I don't know, so you're saying if you bought a computer in 2008 or something, Windows 10 won't work with it? Is that what you're saying, that type of concept?
It depends. It all depends, And if it does work with it, the user might not be the person to be able to handle the buttons and the twists and the hoops you have to jump through to make it work, on that device. And sometimes it's a business, you have to assess the devices. It's a legacy item now, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to confuse the customer and go any further. Our assessment is that maybe convert from an old laptop to a tablet, to a Samsung Android tablet for $99 at the store. That's about as far as I can take those calls.
So what happens?
And everything in between.
What happens? Somebody calls up and says, Elijah, my computer is frozen. I can't do anything, and I have my entire life pictures on here, and I don't have a backup hard drive. What are you going to tell them?
We first of all, everything gets routed to our tech. So what I would say, if I have that as the first thing, is we don't really labor in those kind of lost data problems, especially when they're not local. But there are some things we'll start with, and we just help people. They'll call us. So there's a couple of things buttons we can push, questions we can ask to see if the user is capable and willing to try something like safe mode. But as far as my protocol for the techs is, if you have a big data loss and everything's gone, and we can talk you through three questions, three ways we have for different kinds of devices, we can't take it any further. 60% of those, we can end up turning the computer on, and then the tech can confer with the client and fix something or educate them. The one question you're not asking is, what about the people with working devices? That's 90% of our work.
What do you mean work?
People with stuff that works. And that is rarely where we shine, because nobody really tends to them because you think of the computer problem. So those are the folks that call us, just to do most basic things. Do anything you take for granted on a device, whether it's handheld, which of course is 90% of the users now, to a laptop or a desktop experience. The stuff that works, it's like the human brain, it's barely touched. And that is a majority of our call. And that's sort of a hidden treasure. So that's easy to do. People like to learn. It's easy to teach. It's repetition. And it never ends. Your device is never ending.
How do you earn revenue?
Well, people pay for those classes, so everything is paid for.
So that's my first question. Somebody calls up, hey, Elijah, I have my first Zoom call. I've never used Zoom. I know everybody's using it now, but I just started this thing. I've never used Zoom. You're going to show them how to do it, or are you going to have them pay money, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. So if somebody wants to learn how to use Zoom, you have to assess if they have the product. You can talk to somebody if they understand it, if it's something that's available on their device. After so, that doesn't take long, maybe a minute. Maybe something a little longer. You have to be patient and listen to people. People can get to where you want to go, but you got to listen a little. At that point, if it's something we can help you install, if you can receive an email, then you'll install it, and then you'll have a test meeting with whoever your tech is. And right now, go online. It's $69.99 for that special, and it's been super popular. I put that up in the pandemic started getting real around here, and that's our $69.99 special. And example, this is really touching. I got a call, got a job yesterday from a lady. I won't give you her name. In a very remote part of Texas, somewhere like 100 miles out of Texarkana, right up there in that corner over there. Clearly, a Southern woman, 70s, wants to get on Zoom for church, quarantined like everybody else. We spoke. She had to speak to her husband for the $69.99 charge. They agreed to it. We're scheduled tomorrow. She has a computer, and I've assessed it. We can talk through it, and we'll get her started, and we'll get Zoom installed. All the way out there. Like if I Google the address, it's far away from everything. The closest Walmart is 80 miles away. And there's lots of good folks like that.
But there's always a McDonald's around, so don't worry.
I haven't really Googled in deeply into it, but it looks like a peaceful, beautiful place, very lush and green from what I scanned around. But our clients come from everywhere. We're as soon as the pandemic got real, the calls coming in from feedlots in Kearney, Nebraska. Here's a heartbreaker. A lady called in, one of our techs, Mill. She's been running a feedlot. Husband passed. Both kids are off to the big city, doing good things, living well. And she's 76 years old, still running the feedlot. 4 trucks going out a day. And her Windows 8.5 computer database, just like you talked about, she can't find anything. So we found a way to help her. From that to hunting lodges, in northern Michigan, to funeral parlors in Louisiana. The calls just come in. People are running businesses. People are working late into life. Help gets less and less available. Really, where do you go? in most of America. And, I guess in a bigger city, there are geek squads and many alternatives and independents, but when you're doing business and you're covering, 600 square miles, who do you talk to? And they just sort of found us.
Well, do you offer a free consultation or something before they sign up for the $69? And by the way,
of course.
You have about 50 seconds before we have to take.
Of course we do. I mean, most of it is just trying to understand the person's level of skill. Some people know right away and want to get to it, and other people are just enticed by our website, or just think that they can call somebody and finally talk to somebody. That's the beginning part, and then you assess what people want to do. 40% of our sales happen right then and there, and then I think we close like 80% of them, and the rest we'll call a day later. People need time to think about it.
Well, we're going to be taking a break. We'll be back in about a minute and a half. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show with Mom's Computer, Elijah Dittersdorf.
When you're looking for a midnight snack, sometimes fast food just doesn't cut it. California Bakery and Cafe is open 24/7, so you'll be able to find fresh donuts, danishes, bagels, all-natural fruit juices, gourmet sandwiches, and much more at any hour. With elaborate cakes for any occasion, including weddings, baptisms, anniversaries, corporate events, or any special event. California Bakery and Cafe in Santa Clarita is open 24 hours to satisfy any craving, anytime. Call us, 255-1254. That's 255-1254.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And our special guest today of Mom's Computer, Mr. Elijah Dittersdorf. Elijah, you there?
I'm standing by here, Brien.
I don't know why your name is so long. Anyway, we were talking.
Bend those notes like Aretha.
Yes, but I sing like a man who can't sing. Anyway, you were talking to us. You said you have the $69.99 special. What does the $69.99 special do? Specifically,
you can resolve most everything in that call. Simply your confusion of where you're at with your devices, or quick answers that are pretty commonly found on the web, but we can honestly assess them. And at that point, we can put together, before you even go into the $69.99, what you're going to need. And that's my job. Our job is to sort of figure out what's going to go in there. And once that's done, we go online, or we talk the person through the issue, and we clock an hour. We allow an hour and 15 minutes. We never go further. But the trick with that is how we do our business, knowing if it's going to take longer. Just, being honest about the time. And folks are real good about that and say maybe it'll take an hour and a half. But in that $69.99, we can get online with you. We can see your issue. We can teach you anything you want, update all your settings, and if you have any back-end updates we can't do while we're with you, create a checklist for you. Every job we do comes with follow-up. I think if you're going to say you're tech care for seniors and adult learners, we just have to remember that it's sometimes hard to remember. And so we create different pathways through an email.
What did you say?
Or through phone calls. We create different pathways to contact us.
I just got you. Can't remember. Anyway.
Little joke. Very, very funny, Peter. Not at their expense, please.
How do people reach you?
Well, we have an old-fashioned 800 number. You can walk to a phone booth, put a dime in, and dial 800.
Not a dime anymore, Jay. And there's no phone booths around, but go ahead.
You can go to a proverbial phone booth, the one you have in your back pocket, or somebody that has a working phone booth, and dial 1-800-281-0692. And we're standing by, and we'll get information from you, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Lots of people call us for other people. It's another big stream. They just call us for other people. I want to get my friend Maria, my brother Joe, some help. They never want to do it. I'm paying you. Go call them in.
What is the scope of problems that you can solve, though? Don't say anything or every computer issue. I mean, are there certain scope?
No, of course not.
Right. So,
of course not. When you think about what problems are out there, you have to think about what people you do on an actual computer any longer. It's really limited now, mostly to getting on the internet, checking your emails, Microsoft Office and Word and Excel, which means simply being able to read the documents that you receive. An inordinate amount of people are on much older email systems, going back to Hotmail, Prodigy.net, AOL, Roadrunner.com, really much more antiquated things, and it strangles their email systems, and the problems are as basic as the needs are to fix them. So we haven't encountered a whole bunch of things that we can't fix. We do, of course, because hardware gets old. Another issue that I guess I should bring up is Wi-Fi connection. You'd be surprised how many people, even in places where it's highly accessible, do not have Wi-Fi. There is a whole cross-section of folks, seniors, that see it as an excess, that you don't need it. There might be an Ethernet plug somewhere in the house they don't know about. So we have to work around those issues.
What percentage of issues can get resolved in that phone call? So if 100 people call, are you going to resolve 95, 92, 97? Hopefully at least 90.
In a $69 phone call, I'd say 55-60% of the issues can be resolved.
So what about the other 45?
Okay, it goes up from there. Then, if it's 2 hours, it's simply $69.99 times 2. If you want to schedule something specific, if everything is working, which is a big part of it, then we have classes on there, and you can see on our website. And there's different subjects. And we can book a 2-hour class for $105, and then we can break that class up into 2 sessions. They both come with 30 days of phone calls and email follow-up support.
What if you cannot solve the problem?
That's, I'm going to say, my job, not necessarily the tech, so I've got to lay that out. Of where we draw the line, where we can't fix something, at what point, after how many questions, can the brain of the technician not come to a conclusion of what the issue is or a way to solve it with the person that you're speaking to and their ability and comfortability talking or being around tech. So that's for us to decide, and that's just setting expectations right and being honest with folks. And most people get it. If the device is just not going to work, if it's just older, if you ask a few questions, sometimes you have to ask them to look at physical things on the computer or the tablet they're trying to turn on. And yeah, you lose some time on those, but you'd be surprised. Folks are crafty. They find a way to make things work.
So what is your policy if you cannot solve the problem? Do you give them money back, or how does that work?
Oh, if we resolve an issue and then it goes haywire again?
No. If you can't solve the problem.
Well, we wouldn't take the project to begin with.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things we just, if you called me that you lost, 25,000 photos and you're, you shoot birds and you live in Montana, you're a wildlife photographer. I don't think that's something we would necessarily take. That's a big project with your business on there and lots of images. There's not a lot we can do on Zoom with that. But that rarely is the issue.
But now, you just brought up a great question, and we only have about 30 seconds left. So if you have a problem, you solve it, and then it comes back again. How does that work?
Okay, that's another good one. So
10 seconds.
you have a 30-day warranty on your software repairs.
Okay. And people can reach you at 1-800-281. What were the last 4 digits?
0692.
0692. Mom's Computer, MOSCOMPUTR.com, KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Thank you very much. Have a great day.